There's a very familiar phrase in the world of sports called being in the zone. And in a way, everybody wants to get there. Because when you're in the zone, in a way the game takes over. And in a certain sense, everything you do is right. Sometimes almost magical. Getting in the zone is one thing, staying in the zone is another thing. Finding the zone. It's such an abstraction for most athletes because it doesn't come out of a larger teaching. It's just something that athletes know about from experience. They sort of know when they're there and they sort of know when they're not there. Clearly, being in the zone is desirable. Not being in the zone is not desirable. And because there's no teaching, really, for how to get there, everybody's kind of on their own. How do I do this? And often it isn't even a matter of doing it, it's just, if nothing else, acknowledging it when it happens. Like, I was in the zone. I bring this up for a number of reasons, but one of them is that in the last few months I got caught up in the NBA Finals, and I don't always get caught up in sporting events. But being from the Marin County and fairly near Oakland, the Golden State Warriors were very present in what was going on in our lives, and I couldn't help but tune in. And at the end of it was one of the most remarkable, and maybe the most remarkable season in the Western Finals. The Golden State Warriors proceeded to win with more games than have ever been won by anybody in any of the finals. And there was one player who many of you I'm sure know about, Steph Curry, who's just unbelievably gifted. And he kind of transcends human experience on some level. He is able to make what they call three-pointers that used to not even be part of the game, but now it's a part of the game that's really hard to get to. And I don't know all the stats because I'm not a stat keeper, but I know a couple of years ago he had more than anybody, and this year he kind of went to, how many, 450 something three-pointers, and nobody has ever equaled that ever. And if you ever wanted an image of somebody who was in the zone, Steph Curry was in the zone. I don't think he knew how he was in it, but I think he knew that whatever he was doing was right, and God willing, he would stay there. Every so often, he would not be in the zone, and it was a rare event, and it was stunning to see somebody slip out of it. And he would miss one three-pointer after another, and the team would suffer as a result. And then slowly other players stepped in because they realized they needed to, and suddenly a lot more players were getting in the zone, and it was like, wow, this is a zoning team. It really was remarkable. And they ended up winning the conference, the Western Conference, and then they went into the finals with, I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about, with the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James, it was a fascinating story, and who kind of represents a lot more of us. I mean, he's clearly gifted, unbelievably gifted, but there's a lot of ego-mindedness in LeBron James, and we can feel it. And he rises and falls based on his playing, and you become sympathetic. I become sympathetic to it. He last year in playing with the same group in the finals, the Cavaliers and the Warriors, he lost. His team lost. And he was crushed. And I don't want to go into his whole backstory because it's not part of what I'm here to talk about. But he wanted to win this year. He really wanted to win. I think everybody wants to win, right? Everybody wants to win. That's part of being in the world. Getting to be number one, getting to be the best is a big driving force in our culture, in our lives. And so many of us are motivated by something approaching that. And if we don't get there, we're so terrified of being called a loser. You're a loser. And you can be a loser just by not getting to first place. Second place is a loser. And that's a really hard thing for people. So our culture is driven by the unbelievable effort to get to number one. So, so I'm watching the finals. And the first two games, the Warriors were winning so beautifully that I thought, it's almost boring. You know, they're so good. They're so in the zone. Kind of, do I want to watch the whole series? I mean, yes, I do, but then the third game happened and the fourth game, and those of you who watch any of this know there were blowouts, each team getting blown out by multiple points, 30 points or more. Was it more than that? It was a lot.
30, game 3 was 30. Yeah.
30. And that doesn't happen, usually, I think, in basketball. So it was like, oh my God, there's this deep imperfection occurring. Suddenly people were not functioning at the level they should be. And you could kind of see people were out of the zone. And they were, the losing teams particularly, were out of the zone. And you as an audience, as a rooting member, started to feel either enthralled by the winning or totally destroyed by the losing. And for me, who's not a real sports guy, but I got so caught up, I couldn't bear watching. When the Warriors started losing, and you could tell usually at the very beginning of the game, it was like within the first 4 minutes, you go, uh-oh, this isn't working, it's not going to go well. And I started getting, it was so bad, I turned off the TV. I said, I can't watch it. And Blanche said, what do you mean turn off the TV? This is an amazing game. How can you turn off the TV? I said, I can't bear it. I was standing up. I was going, oh, I was suffering beyond belief the loss of the Warriors, and I didn't know what to do. And so then I would try taping it and fast forwarding so I could see the score go by to see if they were doing okay. And when I got to the end, and oh, it was, the pain was so unbearable. And finally, you know, I don't know if those of you know that the Cavs came back after losing. They were down 3 games, and they were back 2. And the final was, and nobody ever comes back 3 games in a row, except the Warriors had just done that. Yeah. But it's rare that that happens. So the last game, the 7th game, and what's going to happen? And I didn't know if I could watch it. Yeah. And then I had this revelation. It's not a revelation because you all know what it is. It's just a game. And I so loved the brilliance of what was happening. And I love, this is something really important about all ball games. In a ball game, thousands or tens of thousands or millions of people are watching one ball. Yeah. And it's called one-pointedness. And it's one of the rare times in our collective consciousness that we are all one-pointed and experience what that is. And it's so potent. We're all there together in it. And we want the ball to go here or go there, but we're really in it. Well, I don't know. That last game, I just said, I don't want to miss the game. I don't want to get so unhappy or so disturbed by a loss that I don't want to see happen. But I said, be present. Just be present. Watch the game. And I've done this before. I've done it in football as well. You know, where you finally get to the point where the pain is too great and you just sit back and go, thy will be done, basically. And that moment is so powerful. It's so powerful because you get to see God isn't rooting for one team. Why would God root for one team? Well, how does the universe work? Does it really just say Christians win, Muslims don't? Or how does that work? So I just let go, and I watched what was an amazingly powerful basketball game, and I started to feel more than anything two things. I watched Steph Curry move out of the zone and not be able to find it. And I watched LeBron James truly enter it. And he entered it as an act of will, of absolute will. He was not waiting for the universe to bring him into the zone. He said, I am entering the zone or I'll die. I will do what I have to do to enter it. That's a very powerful thing. And it's really important for those of us who do meditation. Because there is the way of just being in the zone, which some of us experience at times. And there's the way that says, I want this. I want this. I need this. And it's really getting from what we call third eye head kind of chakra, wanting, to wishing for it in your heart, to needing it in your gut. And every great athlete is a lower chakra, belly chakra athlete. That's where they come from. This is the transformative energy in life. It all comes from your belly. Most people I know who do yoga are really good up here and terrible in the basement, in the fire in the belly. This furnace that's operating down here doesn't function for a lot of people because they're into wishing and wanting. But it's more than that in the universe. It's getting there. It's being there. It's doing there. Can you will yourself into this? Yes. Yes. Is it completely willing? Is it completely you saying ego-mindedly, I want this, therefore I should have it? It's something bigger. It's something bigger than that. It's saying, I need this to God, if you will, to the universe, to yourself. It's announcing this to all the powers of that be, if you will. I need this. And it is amazing how the universe pays attention, how it comes in to filter into the system and give you the energy, the power, the capacity to arrive at the thing that you needed. Did Steph Curry need it? Yeah, he did. But you could watch him playing, and it was so fascinating because, one, he didn't need it enough, and two, he didn't understand how to get to his need because he's always had the gift of being in that space. It keeps coming to him over and over. Now, I'm just talking about him as if I knew. I don't know Steph Curry. But I really get what happens when you start to lose the flow, when you start to lose that connection, when the zone isn't working. One of the first things that comes into it, what comes into your being, is your head goes, uh-oh, uh-oh. And you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. And you're suddenly up here. You're in your head. Working from your head gets you in trouble. This is, bless you, this is where your doubts come in. This is where your ignorance comes in. Your fear comes in. All of this stuff comes in starting up here. And if you're playing from there, if you're living from here, you are not going to get what you need in life. You have to have a total alignment. You have to have your upper chakras working with your heart chakra, working with your navel chakra, your gut, working with all of you in flow so you become complete and whole and vibrant and alive and available to the flow of energy, to the zone. And you enter the zone. When both people are in the zone completely, then you have unbelievable games. And I have to say, much of what one saw in that last game was guys going in and out of the zone, but commanding it, wanting it. But in the very end, there was one failed attempt at a basket by Steph that you could tell it was not supported. It just wasn't supported. And And it probably even wouldn't have been enough. It was one of those Hail Mary moments. Hail Mary is an interesting phrase because help me get back in the zone. Help me be one with what is. And Mary didn't show up. Mary cannot show up. You don't end up in ties in sports. Usually, sometimes you do, but in many of sports you do not. Somebody wins and somebody loses. What is that? I will tell you, when I watch LeBron James break down sobbing on the court, having won this game, having put everything, and he felt it, everything he had into this game. You watched him sobbing and your heart just broke, my heart broke open. And I went, how could I root for one over another? How could I wish one guy gets it and one guy doesn't? They both really wanted and needed and deserved to win, but only one can. And I got so excited for Cleveland. I didn't care about Cleveland forever. But suddenly I looked at the guys in Cleveland and I said, that happiness I'm seeing in Cleveland. I saw it in Seattle when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. I saw it and I said, God, that happiness. But one town is unhappy. Oakland was miserable. People walking, it was horrible. But the way the world works is somebody wins and somebody loses all the time, and it keeps changing. And I suspect the matchup we saw, the last two matchups for the NBA Finals, will probably happen again, because these teams are amazing, and it will become a wonderful sort of battle zone for two extraordinary teams, and we'll get to watch this thing move back and forth. But what one needs to get to, and what's really important, is there is this place called the zone that envelops the entire rivalry. There's a place called the zone that is open to the what is of existence, to the winning and the losing, to the joy and the sorrow, to the being present and the being absent. There is a zone that is where we can live. I will tell you the problem with that zone. Watching a game and not caring who wins is not fun. It really is terrible. Sitting there going, oh, that was a good play, that was great, oh, go. I mean, you can get into it, but it's not the same as rooting. The rooting interest is the ego. The ego mind that we all have roots for us to survive, to prevail, to have an extraordinary life, to win the game, to get the brass ring, to have more toys than anybody else, whatever it is. The rooting interest in life is what keeps this interesting. I want, I need, give me all of this stuff. I want love, I want money, I want achievement, I want recognition, I want to be happy, bum, 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 bum. All that ego stuff is why we're here. To awaken to the zone of aha, or aso, is an extraordinary gift. It's an extraordinary gift to be at a point where it's all the same in a way. To realize it's all the same is a beautiful thing. It releases you from the agony I felt in turning on that television to see my team lose. You can get rid of that. But you also get rid of the Sturm und Drang of daily existence. So I want to propose this wonderful way of living, which is find your ability to let it go and find your ability to engage. That's called duality. You can live in it or you can live beyond it. To have the opportunity for both is liberation. You can choose to get into the game, and you can choose to sit back and admire the brilliance of the playing. You can be caught in life, in the drama of life, in the struggle, and the unhappiness, and the, oh my God, and why don't they love me, and why don't I get this? Or you can sit down and go, thy will be done, and feel the simplicity and the joy and the openness of pure being. The fact is, you're here in the world. You're here. If you are here unconsciously, you will be caught in the game. If you are here consciously, you can enter the game or step out. You can be involved or not involved. You have choice. You have the ability to transcend and the ability to enter into the zone. Let me tell you something really interesting. Because when you step out of the zone and you think, oh my God, I'm out of the zone, the truth is you can never be out of the zone. Being out of the zone is as much a part of being in the zone as it is to be in the zone. Life is in and out. It's breathing. Day and night. Breathing. In the zone, out of the zone. The minute you give in the zone the power to own you, you are caught by the zone. If you are out of the zone and only want to be in the zone owns you. When you surrender, you love being in the zone, and you are eloquent in your being out of the zone. Watching Steph Curry talking to the press after the game was so humbling and moving and touching. He was so simple about what it means to be in the game, the joy of being able to play, the joy of being up against a great adversary. He was so extraordinary in his gentility. And LeBron James, too, was praising his adversary. These were two great players. Being in the zone is one particular outcome. Being out of the zone is another outcome. But they're all in the zone. It's called life. We are all that. Every one of us. Blanche and I had this wonderful anniversary a week ago. And our 47th, big one. I mean, big in me. My God, I don't know hardly anybody but Jordan and Cheryl were still married. Well, a few people. But we had this beautiful anniversary and everything went right. I mean, like everything. Every moment was like in the zone. And then the next day it wasn't. Not between us, but things were angular again and jagged and things weren't in the zone. And I was thinking, wow, it was so nice when it was in the zone. And then I just went, whoa. Being out of the zone is what made being in the zone so great. It's really the way it works. You need both. You really need both. And if you think it's only one or the other, that's a big mistake. And the really great idea of awakening is to totality. It's not awakening to, oh, I can have the zone forever. It's I can have the zone and not the zone and be completely and absolutely grateful for the two, for both. Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking to be deeply alive. And deeply alive means that you are wherever life puts you at any given moment. And trust me, as much as we are in the game to win it, and as much as we are willing to get there, as much as we take responsibility for, and in fact often we take ownership of the win, the great thing about deep, deep surrender is the realization that you were part of a beautiful dance. You were a necessary part. Your will, your need, your desire, your actions were all necessary, but in the end, you weren't doing it. In the end, you were being played by some great, great universal power that keeps happening and is very much involved in competition and drive and effort and getting there, and also deeply, deeply disinterested. Just saying, go out and play, guys. Have fun. That's the life we're in. And how you engage it is totally up to you. I would like to give you a choice to be able to be rooting for and letting go of your rooting interest, and to be there for the game, in the game, around the game, and just being grateful to be able to turn on the tube and have such dynamic excitement going on. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. we have amazing lives. We really do. I mean, more amazing than anybody can understand. And the idea is, you know, find your zone when you can, appreciate it when you have it because it's an extraordinary thing to achieve, and really deeply understand when it disappears that it hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere. The only thing that sort of happens is you go into your own ego-minded separateness. And all you have to do is let go of it. Ask for help to surrender and return, if not to the zone exactly, to a place where being in or out of the zone doesn't matter. Just being matters. To call this the basketball talk. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Always. Isn't that where real life comes from? Right here? We conceive life here.
You're talking about the
Comes
navel
out
chakra?
here, having a child.
Well,
In all of nature. I question, like, it's a question just because of what you're talking about.
I mean, that's an interesting perspective, that a vaginal birth is a lower chakra experience. It brings life into the world. There is something to be said for that, I guess. I never really thought about it. But, you know, I mean, it does definitely bring your attention down to the lower chakras, you know?
Right.
And Rudy talked endlessly about sex chakra as the rebirth, of giving real birth into the world and rebirth in the world. And for those of us, people who don't give birth, you know, having rebirth and the energy of rebirth is essential to the human condition. Mm-hmm. And so there's a very big part of us as human beings that is constantly in need of being reborn, which implies, as Rudy talked about regularly, that there's a process of death and rebirth in human experience. It goes on all the time. And the death process is, as you awaken more and more to yourself, more and more of what you don't need in your life, more and more of your identities that don't function, that were created when you were 2 years old or 4 years old, as they fall away, new parts of you come alive. And as you grow spiritually, you start to let go of old patterns and identities and thoughts and concepts that don't function for you anymore. And as you free yourself of that, there's a death. It's a real death process. And the energy that revives you is sex chakra energy. And it really moves down to the base of the spine and rises up your spine into the base to the top of your head, and it explodes either in your head or carries you into cosmic awareness, or it overflows and starts to sort of revive and filter through all the chakras, and it makes you whole. It makes you a whole person, and that whole person keeps happening over and over. It diminishes and then it gets bigger, like a tree where all the sap goes into the ground in the winter and then comes back. But the real reviving energy, yeah, it's in the base, well, in the sex chakra, and it's really essential to all of this. Whether that's in the zone energy, I'm not sure that would be what I would say, but the zone kind of involves alignment. All the chakras functioning together, and you're just disappearing as an ego-minded being into that, and it's doing it. It's happening. And it's happening is really happening all the time in our lives. There's never a moment where it's not happening. Most of us live in this space where we think we are doing, and we are making it happen. And in some way, yeah, we are. But in the larger sense, it's just happening. And when you really break down the ego-minded barriers that kind of constrict you and make you feel you're separate from everybody else, when that starts to release itself and let go, there you are happening. And that's the most extraordinary part of the awakening process, the enlightenment process. You are enlightened of, you are released from the ego-minded self-centeredness. And that's a great gift. It's liberating. And that's kind of, if you will, a goal of spiritual practice. But the great teachers will tell you it's not to be achieved, it's just to be realized, because you're already there. And and the frustration for a realized person is to look at people begging and praying to get realized, and you're going, what are you talking? You're there. You are that. You are that. Why are you creating this drama around getting there? You are the very thing you're looking for. This is at the core of non-dualistic teaching. You just want people to go, oh. And it's so simple, but of course it took me half a lifetime or more to get there. And it takes that because there's kind of an effort involved until you can stop making an effort. Where you finally, what I talk about all the time is, I just got to the point where I said, I give up. And Rudy called that surrender. And I really literally just said, I surrender to the universe. And as soon as I said, I surrender, within a week, boop, there was no Bruce left to let go of anything. It just was gone. And then what came was this. And that's all we're looking for. And it's so funny because it's just like an eye chart. You know, when you go into the doctor's office and they say clear, you know, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, and they keep changing it, suddenly it's like clarity. That's all it is. You go, oh, I can see. All the obscuration was you. And they clear, your eyes clear, and you see what you are, who you are. It's really simple and really beautiful. And kind of what we're talking about. And then you realize what the zone is, how you enter the zone, when you leave the zone, and how it doesn't matter. Because you are none of that. You're the thing which manifests zones and removes zones. You are the vastness in which all that occurs. And it's beautiful. Enough said? Yeah.
I read a fascinating book. It's called The Rise of Superman. It's about extreme adventure sports and the zone. And in the back of the book, you had a section called Hacking the Zone, with how scientists have been studying it and what are the prerequisites? How do you set yourself up for being in the zone? And he says, well, some people can sit on their butts and meditate for 20 or 30 years, or you can do an extreme adventure sport where if you're not in the zone, you die. That's a pretty intense motivator.
No, I think that's real. I think there is a truth to. I mean, the zone. If you want to see the zone, and it's when you're facing the end, the finality. That's a real place of the zone, but you don't want to find the zone the last minute of your life. You don't want to find the zone necessarily by facing death. You can. It's an approach. I would recommend this because it's available to everybody, and because it's a gentle entering into, and because then when you have to face, if you ever do have to face the zone, you will be much more prepared for it than not.
Well, the thing that struck me after reading this book was looking at Rudy's life. He was an internal action-adventure guy. I mean, he did this with his spiritual life inside.
Well, so does everybody. Honestly, the real spiritual journey is jumping off of cliffs every day, over and over and over and over. And it does have a quality of death in it. You could die. You definitely don't feel like you could physically die, but you feel like your ego-minded self can absolutely lose itself in this journey. And you take chances over and over and over to just deeply let go. Enter life in a different way every minute of your life. You know, my own career came from facing down, I don't know what you want to call them, demons, studio executives, guys who had my life in their hands, and I had to do a dance and sell myself. And if I did it from up here, I would fail. I had to come in completely open and available, and that took everything I had in me to get there, to be able to present myself to this potential judgment that which would affect my life, the life of my children, everything. And I did that over and over and over. And the energy that came to me through my spiritual practice is how I survived and prevailed, if you will, in the Hollywood experience. But everyone has their version of it. Everybody does. There are all these things out there that you can keep avoiding or ultimately open to, and they will come at you in massive ways. Everything that you need to work with in life to become really liberated will come toward you, and you will either say yes or you will hide. If you hide, it will find you. And it may take another year or two to come around, but it will get back to you. And when it does, maybe that time you'll be ready. But in the end, every one of us is found, and every one of us either has to go yes or no. That's the journey, and that's all you can do. And the battle in yourself to get to that place is a spiritually prepared battle if you want to do it. Otherwise, it's an ego-minded battle for which you are endlessly unprepared, and you tell stories to yourself about why you're unprepared. You make up stories about why you failed here and failed there, but it's not a happy journey. The spiritual journey is facing it with great courage. It's sort of like jumping off a cliff. It really is. And you don't have to literally jump off a cliff. You know, the dying that takes place is more of an identity dying, or a part of your being that is scared to death of things that suddenly is not able to get past the fear. That's safer, and it's a great way to grow. That's what Rudy called it. He called it growing. Really, it means taking it on, taking life on day by day by day by day. I mean, think about Steph Curry and LeBron James and the millions and millions of people watching them. You want to talk about pressure. It wasn't even just getting a basket. It was like everybody wanting that for them and for themselves. That pressure in public. Boy, oh boy. If you want to see people really grow and expand and evolve, that's a great place to see it. Not that they all pull that off, but that's putting yourself out there. You know, and in a way, life is putting yourself out there. It may not be in a huge arena, but you're putting yourself out there every day. How do you respond? How do you interact with the world on a daily basis? Are you heroic? Are you selfless? Are you timid? Are you frightened of everything? Who are you? How do you find out what you are, and then what do you do with that? You know, and the great teaching here is ask for help to surrender. Just let it go. Let go. Be courageous. Let go of me, and become us. Or again, thy will be done. It's great teaching. Anybody else?
It feels like you're talking about managing loss. I realize somewhere I internalized this idea that I was never supposed to lose. But that's insane. These guys lose. Baseball players, 2/3 of if they make out 2/3 of the time they go to the plate, they go to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I thought when Steph Curry missed when he hit that air ball, my first thought was, "You suck," which is insane, right?
Of
For me
course.
to say that,
Right,
you know,
right.
It's just why does this happen to us that we get so derailed by it?
Because our culture supports it, and because our culture has been built on it, and is a very successful culture. It's an amazing culture driven by success, you know. So we're all caught in the game, every one of us. And the thing is, be in the game, but don't be caught in the game. So you can step back. I mean, again, that's freedom. Imprisonment is when you're caught, when you're locked up in it. You don't have to be locked up in this thing at all. You can play it with enormous pleasure. You know, get caught, get free. Get caught, do whatever you want. But don't be caught because you don't have a choice. That's terrible. And that's where most people live, you know, understandably. So, did I see another hand?
I'm loving this conversation, and so the getting caught piece is, I found myself there recently, and there's a sense of apathy, and there's a sense of I'm not living my purpose, and I'm not, giving what I'm really here to give, and then the grips just get tighter and tighter. So can you speak a little bit more to that about, there's the choice, and I hear that, and then I still find myself caught.
Programming. We're all programmed. And we're programmed to win, to be successful, to have meaning in our lives, to have success and all of these things. And when we don't get them, we really start to judge ourselves. We start to grip. We start to get panicked. We start to think, oh my God, this will never happen. What do I do? And you start to have this feeling inside that you're not worthy, that you can't have it, that things are going to go away, that you're not going to have the life you wanted. It's panic time. And this happens to people in our culture a lot. It did not happen to people who were shepherds in the old days. They didn't go through this kind of thing. But in our world, where survival is dependent upon getting there, you have to do it. And so the mind is built to protect you and makes you feel, oh, I'm no good, I've got to get good. There's this thing that goes on, unless the mind is so overpowering that you just end up in, give me something to lessen the pain. But that, which is a real problem in our culture. Getting the bigger picture in yourself is the thing that will free you from that dynamic. But if it does free you from that dynamic, it may also tell you to go out and work on a farm. It may change the whole equation for you. So some people don't want that. It's about re-engaging the struggle. Yes, we need. Yes, we have to get there. Yes, we want. Say yes to that, but don't diminish yourself if you haven't arrived at that, or if you're having a hard time with it, or whatever's going on. I'm very close to people who are having a hard time. A lot of people explain it to me. And I suffer with their hard time. I know they're having a hard time. And I want to give them this larger cosmological sensibility, but they're not ready for that. When you're in the middle of your life, and all this stuff is coming on, and you could lose a house, or you could lose a job, or friends, or whatever it is, lovers, that's really scary. And meant to be scary, because that's how the world works. It keeps us going. If you're lucky enough to find the spiritual path along the way, it will do a dance with all of that. You will find, I can handle it. I can do it better. I don't need to take OxyContin to handle the problems of my life. I can do the dance. I can get there. And then as life goes on, this is my experience, because Rudy told me this was going to be a life's work. Having gotten old, having passed 70, now 73 now, I'm watching how much aging frees you. How much it goes, none of that mattered. It's so incredible to me that I had a whole career which means nothing to me. It's completely gone from my life. I don't think about it. I don't think of my identity in relationship to it. I had to fight to get it. It helped support me. It continues on some level to provide a base level of comfort in my life. But I do not think of myself as whatever it was people think I was. I am a grandpa. That's really what I am. I'm a husband, and I walk. That's my life. And it's a really simple life, and I really love it. The drama you're describing, I've been there. Everyone here has been there. We all know that space. All I can do is give you a bit of a panacea that says you're going to grow out of it. It's only temporary, but while you're in it, breathe through it and use it as well as you can to get to the next step. If you get constricted, you will be obstructed. You will not be able to move to what the next thing is. You have to breathe and find your way. And you may have to find your way in directions you did not want to go or did not expect to go. But life is there. Life isn't only the direction you want it, it's everywhere. And once you start to breathe into that, you will find yourself getting to the thing that is bringing you the next portion of your existence. So it's courage. It's just courage to do it, and not to give in to the mind's thing. All the mind is trying to do is protect you, but it has a horrible way of doing that. Because you're no good. You're this. You should have done. Forget it. And only if you breathe deeply, ask for help to surrender, you can sit and look at your mind doing that and know, oh, it's just the mind. It's not me. It's the mind. And when you let go of the mind, it loses its power over you. And the real power comes from being, which is the greatest reality that you already have. It's a deep knowing of how to live. It's already there. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. See you guys in a month. Thank you so much. I appreciate that you make the effort to get here, and thank you.